Okay, should you go to film school? I think this is something that a lot of, especially aspiring filmmakers, beginning filmmakers, people in high school right now, whatever, they're always wondering, should I go to film school? I would say no, myself, and I'm gonna tell you why. I didn't go to film school at all, but that doesn't mean anything. There's tons of things that I haven't done that I do think are good ideas, and I do think film school has helped some people for sure. I'm not like super against it. I think it can help some people. It just depends what you expect from it and what you think it'll do for you. But I think for me, if your goal is to be a filmmaker, let's say a director or even a producer, then I don't think film school is useful. Maybe for other things it can be, but I don't think if you're trying to be a filmmaker, that's the way to do it. I would equate it to kind of what I did when I went to school. I got my undergrad degree, but then I was assigned to do my grad school, and I kind of had to do it because I was on a student visa and I wanted to stay in America. I didn't have another visa or another way to stay, so I didn't have much of a choice. In hindsight, if I did, I probably wouldn't have done grad school, and I did. I did grad school for 2 years, got my MBA, so my business master, and honestly, I didn't learn anything useful to me. You know what I mean? It wasn't a waste, I would say. Obviously, for me, it kept me in America, and I learned a lot of different things outside of the MBA that I was doing. I also started my first company at the time. But in terms of the actual MBA, it wasn't useful for me. Now, luckily, I didn't have to pay for it. I had a grad assistantship that paid my tuition, so I didn't get into debt, which is good. But it just wasn't very useful for me. I feel like a lot of things that they're teaching there were antiquated, or they were not built for. Kind of like in filmmaking, they were not built realistically for how you're starting out. So for me, if I'm starting a business and they're teaching me this corporate structure things and all these things that really apply 100-person companies or something, like really corporate structures, and even the things that they're teaching there, it's that's not where I'm at all. I need to be learning sales. I need to be learning how do I set this up? How do I get started? How do I what's the best way to test something? How do I bootstrap something without spending money on it? That's what I was looking for, and I didn't learn any of that. And it's very old advice. I think I learned way more from YouTube, from different courses online that I found than I ever did from my MBA. So back to filmmaking, I feel the same way about that. I feel like for almost everything you can find it online nowadays. Now, if you do filmmaking school, I think there are cool things in the sense like any top school, let's say, where you meet people. I think that's the biggest thing. I think for me, if I think about undergrad, my biggest thing there is that I have some of my best friends who are still from there. But for relationships, I think it's definitely worth it. And I think for filmmaking school, in that way, it can be. You know what I mean? Because you meet other people, and a lot of people, those are the people you work with later on. You have this big network, and that is useful. You know what I mean? That is useful. But in terms of becoming a filmmaker, becoming a director, I think it's better to just do the thing, learn on the go, get on set. Even if you're starting out, really get on set any which way, if that's PAing or, whatever you can find, student films, and anything you can do to get on set and start learning is what I would do over film school. And then to be a director, filmmaker, I would just try to make your first film as soon as possible with as little experience even as you can. You don't need some prerequisite experience. That's not that type of job. Will you make a lot of mistakes? Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? It's not going to be probably your best thing ever. But the quicker you do that, the quicker you'll learn, because you'll learn way more from making your first thing than you will in a year of film school, for example. So I would say my advice would be make your first short film, short film as quickly as possible. Get on set and make it, and make it for any budget. Don't think, and I see filmmakers all the time, especially young filmmakers, that are spending these budgets that trying to find these budgets that are 20, 30, 40 grand for a short film. That's way too much, in my opinion, for your first short film. That's so risky. It's also just a lot of money for you doing it the first time. I would say your first time, try to make it as cheap as possible. Whatever money you have access to, it's $1,000, $2,000. If it's for free, find people to do a skeleton crew, whatever, friends, whatever. But just do it any which way you can the first time, and try to keep your costs as low as possible the first time. Don't be overspending the first time because you feel like it needs to be so professional or needs to be so this. It's you can make, with the equipment nowadays, you can make something really beautiful and cinematic looking for way less than you think. And even for some shorts that I've been on, pretty much always been the case, at least for the production part, that we probably could have done it with 2 people less, or at least a person less on set. I've had times where we had 8, 9 people for a short film, crew members, and we really didn't need that many people. And I've done it with 5 and it was equally good, you know what I mean? And there's gonna be people that say, but you need more people and da da da, and it's like, test it out. That's what I would say. Make a short film as cheap as you can. Do it with 4 people. See how it goes, and then you'll learn. You'll be like, okay, well, because we only had this many people, this is the part that we couldn't do well, or we could have used that. It's better to learn that way than to have 10 people on set for your first short film, and then being like, oh, I didn't need that many people, so how many do I need? You know what I mean? Better to start to learn cheaply and make mistakes, in my eyes, know what you need, than to overspend and do that. So, to go back to everything in terms of film school, personally, if I was a starting filmmaker and I knew I wanted to be a director or a producer, either one, just a filmmaker, I would skip film school. I would just go straight to making things and watching things too. I watch a lot of films. You learn so much just from watching as well. And being on set, I think that's what people should do. They should make that their film school. And then, all that money that you're going to spend on film school, you can put on your own project, if anything. So if you were going to think about how much money you would spend on that, now you're saving that. So that's another way to think about it. You're saving all this money that you originally were going to spend. Now you could use money kind of guilt-free in that way and be like, oh, well, I was going to spend it on this for like $50K, and now I'm making a short film for $5K. That's a great deal. You know what I mean? So I think figuring that out and kind of just doing the thing and not worrying about how big something is and where it's going to go and is this worth it? And because sometimes you get in your head, people get in their head about like, oh, is this worth it? Is this big enough? Is this gonna get me? Blah, blah, blah. It's like when you're starting out, just create. Don't think about the outcome, where it's going, what it's gonna lead to, all that stuff, as hard as that is. And just create the thing to create and to learn. See everything initially as you're learning. You're trying to learn as quickly as possible. So that's my 2 cents about film school. Very curious to hear what you guys think. Let me know if film school works for you. You know what I mean? Or if you think I'm just completely wrong, definitely comment. Always happy to talk about it, and I always answer every comment. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.